Welcome to the Business Building Blocks podcast, where we talk about the struggles and celebrations that leaders and entrepreneurs experience on their journey to success. I'm your host, Kristina, and I'm passionate about helping you achieve massive amounts of success at work and at home. We'll talk about all things people and organizational wellness, share relatable stories, and feature insightful guests because quality people and processes are at the heart of every success story. Ready to learn, grow, and have fun? Let's dive in. Hello and welcome to the Business Building Blocks podcast. I'm your host, Kristina Schmitt. Today, we're going to get really clear. My guest today is Alexander Michael Gittens, or AMG, if you'd prefer. So AMG is a managing partner of Rupert Rodney, and they help take leaders through a process to close the clarity gap. I'm excited to have you on here. We had a great conversation before, so I'm super pumped about where we're going to be able to share some huge gems for the audience today. Before we get jumping into all the nuts and bolts of what we're going to talk about, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're at, who you are, that kind of thing.
Yeah. And again, thank you so much, Kristina, for having me. And it was a delightful pre-interview chat. So I'm looking forward to this as well. So I'm a Canadian. I was born in Ontario. And for most of my life, I was known as a musician and a baseball player, which wasn't the worst thing in the world, but I knew I always wanted to do something intellectual and something in business. So when I went away to college, I took finance, I took economics, I kept doing all this education to find out that what I really love is strategy. And it's why are we doing the things we're doing? How do we measure if we're doing the right thing? How do we know the thing we're doing our best at is the best thing to do? And all of those questions. So I've been working with CEOs now for about 25 years. We've had about 500, actually, we're getting close to 600 clients now. And it's a joy to bring them clarity that helps them operate better, sell better, and scale faster.
Awesome. That is all hugely important stuff. And
yes,
strategy is one of those elusive words that I feel like can mean many different things to many different people.
Yeah.
Tell us about, first explain to us, what is this clarity gap that you like to close? It sounds wonderful to close.
We do love, we love closing the clarity gap so much. We trademarked the phrase clarity gap, right? So we love closing it. But you're absolutely right, Kristina, because when most people speak about strategy, they're speaking about tactics. They're speaking about what they're going to do. The question that we're asking strategically is, what business are we in? Why are we in this business? How do we succeed in this business? And how do we measure that we've succeeded in this business? How do we know we should pivot? So it's allocating limited resources when you have unlimited opportunities to get an outsized return. If you're working with anyone other than the CEO, then you're probably doing something tactical. But we're deciding what direction are we steering this thing in. And typically when you have clarity there, it trickles down. But let's get into this clarity gap because I was a very traditional consultant until after working with about 250 clients. And what I thought it would be working with CEOs, it turned out to be completely the opposite. I thought it would be stoic and organized and high level. And once they started treating me like a peer, Kristina, they had very specific concerns and very specific problems that I think everyday business people may not understand what things look like at that altitude. And I realized the question that summarizes the way that they felt is this: how do you know the thing you're doing your best at is your best thing to do? And then the other thing I would say, so that's the existential one, that's the philosophical one. But the more exciting question is, if everyone in the world knew how much value you provide, how successful would you be? And so we start thinking about the clarity gap there. So the clarity gap is the hidden leakages that keep you from achieving your optimal revenue, your optimal profit. And they happen fundamentally in three areas. So they happen in your target market that you're going after. So let's call that your positioning, your market, then in your product and service, and then thirdly, in the actual way that you talk about those. And we're able to score quite intellectually how well we expect you to perform based on the clarity you have in those three areas. What we've found is when we deploy that, they get wonderful byproducts, which is also teams that are aligned, people that are all rowing in the same direction, which every large company has that issue.
Absolutely.
And they also have reduced churn. increased productivity, all the wonderful metrics that happen when you've got the right people in the right place working on the right thing. So that's kind of an introduction, but tell me what you think, because I can go much deeper. I could talk about clarity all day.
Well, from I always say my engine nerd background,
Mm-hmm.
I love
Okay.
the fact that it's a score.
Mm-hmm.
Strategy and direction, locations, whatever we want to, like, what we're working on, like, is so subjective. And I love
It
the
is.
fact that you're giving a score. So tell me about that. What is this score? What is this assessment?
Yeah, it's important because there was this bifurcation or a dichotomy that happened. So what we did quite innocently is we read that whole 10,000 hour thing as a team. We're like, okay, we need to put in 10,000 hours until we can say we are experts at anything. So we had 250 clients. We estimated 40 hours per client. Hopefully that math is correct. So I have two finance degrees, so I'm not the one to tell you how to do math, okay? But we did an analysis of our clients, and we asked some pretty interesting questions. We said, what did this client say they wanted from us? What did they say they got? How much did we enjoy working with this client? And how much could that type of client drive our economic engine as a company? And it was the reason I say curious, Kristina, is because the people who came looking for very qualitative outcomes were talking about our financial acuity or how quantitatively precise we were. And the people that said that they wanted precision, maybe in their FP&A or in their CFO function, they were talking about how qualitatively sound we were. And so on the surface, it's great because everyone's happy. But then when I looked a little deeper, the way that they were framing the problem was symptomatic rather than what was actually going on. And so to get everyone looking at the same phenomena the same way, we had to just attack something in a way that it could be quantitative and you could see it. So we took the equations from acquisition.com for the first two, the market and the product, and we came up with our own for the messaging. And this is how we score them. So we say, okay, Kristina, you and I are working on a project together, a dream of mine, and we've got this new client, and this is the market that they're going after. They are targeting seven-figure CEOs. So we would ask 4 questions. We would say, not just do you have something that they want? We would say, is your target market starving for what you provide, or for the pain you take away, or for the outcome? Are they starving for it? Like, if their head was underwater, do they want what you have as much as they want to breathe? And I think a lot of people, they think they have something nice, or we have something that can help people achieve something. But we want to find a marketplace that is desperate, like for food, water, and shelter, desperate for what we have. So I'll stop there because that's the first variable out of 4. But have you found that when you're working with clients, that if they don't have a solution that has a clear ICP, so an ideal client profile that they can look at and say, this is who needs and wants and is desperate for what we have, everything kind of starts there.
It totally does. And the thing is I find that the hardest thing to define sometimes, because you're like, I have this thing, it can help everyone.
Yes.
Like, I know I start there and it's like, it can help you everywhere and everyone. But, there's always in marketing, in sales, in everything, what's your niche? Where are you niching down to? And not fearing that niche. And it's scary to say, I'm going to do this, but not this, or I'm going to target this, but not this. And so that's interesting. So how do you evaluate the markets for them, or how are they evaluating it?
And the funny thing is, like all important reflection in life, it starts with self-reflection. So it feels good. And I don't know the neurological words for it, but let's say it's adrenaline, dopamine, serotonin, some sort of positive feeling that you get when you know that you are helping someone. It's not a bad thing, but we have to analyze it, because what it does is it makes you the hero in the story. That's the first problem. If you are the hero in the story, then you absolutely have an issue with your product, with your market, with everything. Your clients should be the hero. They are the hero. So it is not about you. It's not about me, Kristina. It is up to us. All right. I'm going to say that again. It's not about us. It's up to us. So how we want to help, how we want to show up, who we want to be, and what we want them to reveal and find in themselves, it's not our job. If you're going to do that, then therapy and coaching is probably better for you, which is a wonderful profession. But if you want to be able to pick a metric and move it for a client and drive an actual outcome, then you need to start thinking about, what is it that this client needs to achieve? How do they achieve it? And how do we measure it? So the first thing you need to do is get out of the way. So if I need people to understand how good I am, horrible product. I need to be able to communicate what they want better than they can say it themselves and solve the problem that bothers them the most. So do you see how it kind of changes it from being about me to up to me? So that's the first thing that we would say.
Okay.
Any comments on that? Because then we'll go to like how we actually fix it. Yeah.
I think I just need to get that in my head a little bit more. Like,
yeah.
So up to me, meaning like you're trying to understand them as much as possible to help them see better, or what is it?
No, we can't use the word help. Oh boy.
Help we don't help. We don't help.
We don't help anyone. No. When Kristina shows up, it's like, consider it done. It's like, it's already done. The problem is solved. Okay, so think of it this way. If we understand our client and our target market so intimately, because we're focused on them, we understand what their reality is sometimes better than themselves. And this is a beautiful thing about being a human, because if you had relationship issues and I had relationship issues, even though we know the right thing to do, we're probably the wrong person to give ourselves the advice. Yeah. We could probably give someone else the advice going through the same situation, but we can't take it ourselves.
Yes.
So there's this wonderful thing about being a human when we need each other. And so we have perspectives. And so you and I have worked with dozens and dozens of business leaders, and we've seen patterns emerge. So we can go to a company and say, hey, here is a situation that you have, and this is what it feels like. It feels like when leads see your product that they understand it, but then they don't act right away, or the pipeline slows down, or they ghost. Have you had that happen before? Or we could say to them, do you feel like there's competitors out there who have a lesser offering than you, but they're getting the market share that you should have? They're getting business you should have? Or you can say to them, do you feel like your team is well-meaning, but everyone's got their own agendas and they're pulling in different directions? You see what I just did? I just outlined 3 situations that my target client can say, absolutely, that's exactly who I am. I start talking to leads. I explain my product to them. I know they're the right person for me. I know I have the right solution for them, but they ask questions that let me know they don't even understand what we're offering. How could this be? Because we know we have the right product. We know we have the right market. Why are they not buying right away? That emotion has nothing to do with me. That's something my clients would experience. And when I can say it back to them, they're like, yes, if you could solve this issue where we're paying, let's say our cost of acquisition, our CAC is like $1,000 per lead. If you could just convert some of these leads in our pipeline or teach us how to be more effective, that's something we want.
Yes.
Help me do that. Yeah. Okay. So basically, even though, yes, we're helping them, as being facetious, because when you say help, it's about you. What I'm saying is find the problem that is hurting them the most and remove it. If you talk in that language, then you've got the first part of finding a great market. You've identified what they're starving for. Does that kind of make more sense?
It does, yeah. Because, I mean, that is what we try to do in marketing, but then we somehow make it about ourselves sometimes.
It's like,
Yeah, but it is, I mean, everybody would be like, yes, I will pay you to take this problem away from me. So that makes sense. So I'm going to say help because I don't know the other word for it, but
yes.
You're giving them tools so that they can take that problem away.
Or better still, you're just removing it.
Yeah.
You're removing it. I figured this out in the weirdest way. So watching cartoons, okay? And when you're watching, no, stick with me here. I'll get this back to business, I promise you. Okay?
That's fine. My listeners are used to this, believe me.
Then around the 7-minute mark, it took a weird turn. So, okay. So you're watching cartoons and you've got the antagonist, the bad guy, the bad girl. And they finally get the protagonist, the hero, in a situation where they're tied to a chair or they've got them trapped. But they have the need to explain to that person how clever they are and how right they are, giving them enough time to wriggle free and take care of the bad guy. It's the same thing when we as business people have a need for people to understand how brilliant we are. My smartphone is the most incredible piece of technology that I can even imagine. I'm a little bit older. If someone gave me my iPhone in high school, I would think it was sorcery because it's smaller than my calculator. What do you mean? Like I had no concept of the internet. Now, how much do I understand about the innards of my iPhone for it to add value to me? How much do I need to understand about what's going on inside of it? A little bit, a lot, or absolutely nothing?
Nothing.
I don't need, because I know what I want. I want to go online. I want to pay my bills. And so they're not marketing to me why their gyroscope or their modem is better. They know I don't care about those things. Yeah. They care about that to give me the outcome that I want. And if you can start giving people the outcome that they want, then maybe after you solve their problem, you can talk to them about how you did it. But don't be that bad guy that don't be a bad guy.
There you go.
I don't want to go back to the metaphor, but basically, if you need people to understand how brilliant you are, then that has nothing to do with what I'm talking about. That's between you, yourself, your therapist, your past, your whatever. If you truly want to help, then you will say, how quickly can I get people where they want to go faster or bigger than they could ever imagine it? It's up to you. It's not about you. So you gotta give it a name. That's ego. You gotta shout that out.
Well, I was just gonna say, it's like humility. You need to have the humility in there.
Yeah. It's like, I'm incredible at what I do, Kristina, but I would never say that out loud. Did I just say that out loud? I think I'm incredible, but I should never say that.
Yeah, it's need people to just see it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, even better, have people say it for you. We just posted a testimonial on our LinkedIn, on our company LinkedIn. And it's so lovely to be able to say, here's what clients experienced after working with us. Absolutely. Who cares what I think about myself, right? Yeah. So we've touched on one of the 4 variables now when it comes to the market.
Move to the next variable.
The next ones we're just going to list. So once we know we have what they're starving for, we want to ask ourselves, can they afford it? Right? Can they afford it? So if I am working with solopreneurs and my solution starts at $20,000, even if they're starving for it, they probably won't be able to afford it. If I'm working with enterprises and my solution is $20,000, that might be just, it's not a big deal. Let's do it. So the second part of it is, can they afford us?
Very good.
It makes sense, right?
Yes.
So when you pick your market, you want to make sure that you're targeting entities that can afford you. Because if you're charging, let's say, $150 and your lifestyle costs you $5,000 a month, well, how many people do you need to say yes to you until your business makes sense? Okay, so that's the second thing.
Yep.
And the third thing is, are they growing? An example of that was used on acquisition.com is door-to-door newspaper delivery. Kristina, I've got this awesome solution for door-to-door newspaper delivery. The Detroit Free Press, I can help them.
Okay.
But is that a growing industry?
Absolutely not.
No. So we don't want to target it, right? And then the fourth one is, can we reach them? And this is massive, right? Because it's so much easier maybe to reach solopreneurs. It's a little harder to reach the CEO of an enterprise. But if I can't reach them, then I'm not choosing the right marketplace. So again, do I have what they're starving for? Can they afford us? Are they growing? And can I reach them? If those 4 things are 10 out of 10, then you have picked the perfect market. And just like any equation, if we pay a tax on the marketplace, it's going to trickle down all the way through the product and through the messaging. So that's the thing that most people get wrong. So if there's only one thing you get from this podcast, other than my beautiful villain example, if there's only one thing you get from this podcast, is spend extra time choosing the marketplace where you are addressing and solving what they want the most. You can reach them, they can afford you, and it's a growing marketplace. That's where you start.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I like that it clarifies a bit, because I have heard so many times, find your niche. Where can you help people? Like, they say, where can you help people? But like, find your niche down. And it's like, I feel like it's just like throwing a dart at the wall, trying to pick something. It's like, well, I kind of like working with these people. That's fun. Let's do that.
Yeah. Well, and again, I got to thank acquisition.com for putting it in these ways. Because when you know something, and then someone says it better than you, you're like, I'm so glad this book exists, because I felt this, but now they can put it into words.
Yes.
But Kristina, for our listeners, there's something that we like to think of on our team, which is sort of a helpful place if people are telling you to niche down. And by the way, thank you for pronouncing it that way. I know that you've lived on both sides of the border, on Canada and the US, but I've heard niche before, but niche is the way it should be pronounced. So when people tell you to niche down, what they're often saying is, be so specific, dominate a specific area. The way we like to think about it is, draw a 2x2 matrix in your mind, where it is, how much do they want it and how good are we at it? So we want to find where we are the best at something, and this is what people want the most. We don't want to find areas where we're not good at it and people don't want it. So you just want to find that combination of, This is what people want the most, 10 out of 10. This is what I can deliver the most. That niche is the one that you want to hit.
Yes. I like the idea of the matrix, because like the 2 ID matrix, because it's like you can plot things on there. You know, like for decision making, I used to coach some of my team to like look at, okay, like let's draw it in a 2x2, like what's, easy to implement and has the biggest impact,
Absolutely.
Like, and it's just it's an easy way to make a decision. And when you can plot it out, I'm a very visual person. I think a lot of people that I work with are too. So it's very helpful to be able to kind of map that out and just see like, okay, you might like doing this, but they don't need you. They can't afford you.
You've got it. And here's the thing as well, Kristina, because you're leading us down a wonderful path here, is that there may be industries. So we're both familiar with the automobile industry. We've both worked and lived in that area. And there's certain solutions that they need with tool and die and with manufacturers and vertical integration and an aging workforce and pensions and all of that, that may be the opposite of what someone in agriculture would need. So when we talk about niching down, even if you've identified, okay, this is what we're the best at, what industry, what position does this mean the most to? Like, are they facing existential threats that we can solve with our particular solution? So that's another way of looking at it. Because if you're myopic, if you're too nearsighted and you are already saying, well, I go after these companies because of proximity, well, that doesn't fit into what we talked about. We talked about easy to target for conversion, not that you can just walk there or drive there or something like that. So
exactly.
So that's it for the market. Those 4 things. Are they starving for it? Can we target them easily? Are they growing and can they afford us?
It's good
stuff.
stuff.
So we score it. We score it. Yeah. And that's 1 out of 3 areas. Yeah.
Oh, goodness. Okay. Let's go through the other 2 just so we can get an understanding of it and, helping people kind of grasp, okay, how can I look at my business? So what's the second one besides market?
Okay. So then you have the product or the service or the solution, right?
Yeah.
So now that we know the market we're going after, what are we bringing to them? So for that, we want to now think about their dream outcome. So we've got an equation, again, from acquisition.com, where we have 2 variables in the numerator and 2 variables in the denominator. So to make the product the best it can be, we want the 2 variables in the numerator to be as big as possible. And we want the 2 in the denominators to be as small as possible, right? Everything we do can be explained. This is 5th grade math, okay?
I love it.
That's kind of, any higher than that, I got to call a friend. Okay, so in the numerator, the first thing we have is their dream outcome. So we want to make sure that what we are communicating with this product is exactly where they want to be. So we need to understand it and be able to say it in their language. This is what they want the most. And we score that from 0 to 10. And we can talk to leads when we're doing sales calls and just say, hey, if this was to go away, or if you were to have this outcome, or if this was in your life or business, what would your life be like? And if they're like, yeah, pretty cool, then score to 5. If they're saying, if you can do that, take my money now, okay, that's a 10.
Yes.
So we want that to be. The second variable is how much can we guarantee it, right? And so think about this as reducing the risk to 0. Improving the guarantee to 100% is removing the risk to 0. And we can do this a lot of ways, by having testimonials, by having money back guarantees, conditional guarantees, by showing that we have a track record. We want them to feel like there's no chance that this goes wrong. And so those are the variables in the numerator. This is where most people stop. So tell me what you think about these 2, because this is where 90% of businesses stop. I've got something awesome. People think it's great.
Yeah, I think like that's what I hear. And that's the first things that come to mind. But I can't even right now. My brain cannot think of what would be in the denominator yet.
Yeah, and here's the thing. You know this, and you do this. It's just what you said at the beginning is absolutely right. It's helpful to have a framework, because then you can work through it with your executive team, like we do with our clients, and actually score it. It gets even more fun when we tie it back to profit and growth. That's the most fun. But so now in the denominator, we have the things we want to minimize. And the first one is the time delay to getting the solution. See, as entrepreneurs, we want to sell a 7-week program or a 6-week program, or, sign up for 4 months. But what if we could say, you will get the result instantly? Like, Kristina, how much could I charge for a solution that got someone 15% body fat instantly? All you have to do is tap your credit card and you're going to have 15% body fat instantly. What would that product be worth?
I mean, obviously it depends on the person, but I mean, that is huge for people, because everyone's looking for the shortcut. And then what they find when they buy it, they have to actually do work.
Yes. Okay. So you've explained it perfectly, right? Because when you talk about what people want, they want the 15% body fat, let's say 20% if you're a woman, they want the low body fat, but what they really want is to get it with no effort.
Yes.
So if you can have a product where people just tap their credit card and they get it right away, that is a product you could charge. It would be $1 trillion industry if you could do that. Right? Because we're not talking about, is it healthy? Is it good? No. What do people want? They want it instantly with no effort. So that's it. So when you look at your product now, you have to say, the way I talk about my product, the way that I communicate it, am I solving this problem instantly? What I like to tell thought leaders like you when you think about this is there is their short-term experience and their long-term outcome. So maybe the long-term outcome, by the nature of it, will take a few weeks. But what can you tell them that they will get right away that allows them to say, okay, that cognitive dissonance or buyer's remorse, I can understand that 2 days from now, this is going to happen. 5 days from now, that's going to happen. What can you deliver right away to make to make our equation work a little better? Does that make sense?
It does. At first I was struggling, like in my line of work, to find it, but I started thinking through, it's number one, Working Genius relieves like all this like guilt over what I should be doing and versus what I want to be doing. So that's one thing I do. But the second thing, I get feedback from my clients after just one session. They're like, it felt so good to just say all this out loud and get some clarity around it. And like, so that like from my end, that is an instant thing that I can give them. Hey, come chat with me. I don't know how to say it, but it will feel very good to just get it. It will relieve your stress to get it out of your head and into the world.
Absolutely.
So
Okay. So let's
like
use
that.
what you said, because this is something you have a lot of experience with, and your clients have always talked about how much freer they feel, how much clearer they feel, how much more relieved they feel. And it's part of your superpower that you can put people in a state where they can tackle the tough things because you've reduced the anxiety. It's part of what you do very well. So now when you talk about that, they don't want to hear, get on my couch, lie down, tell me about your feelings and you'll feel better. Most powerful business people don't want to hear that. But what we can talk about the short-term outcome in a way that they will love. And if you understand that after one meeting with you, clients tend to, your retention's 99%, then you can de-risk it by not even charging for the first one. You can say, okay, our first session with me is $1,000 and you're going to pay that right away. And then after one session, we're going to have complete clarity on what the road forward looks like. And more than anything, you are going to be in a position to make smart decisions because your stress is gone and you know that all of your problems are being fixed. Sounds too good to be true. So what I'll do is don't even bother paying that $1,000 until we have that first meeting. And if it's not life-changing, if you don't feel nirvana, then we should probably not move forward. Do you see how perfect it is?
It is, because I mean, that's what people want. People like, they think I do this. I mean, like you're looking for a coach, you're looking for someone to help you get clarity. And you're like, is it going to do anything for me? And you know what I mean? So there is that huge pushback, and it's so nice to be able to say, okay, if I don't get it, I don't pay for it. So, hey, cool.
The only thing that I would say is there's a bit of an efficacy part of here. So when something is free, it's cheap, right? That's what people feel. So I believe you're worth $1,000 an hour. And you might say, AMG, I'm worth $5,000 an hour. Apologies. But what I'm saying, though, is make them pay the money and have 3 options. So say, hey, the first $1,000 is due right away. As soon as you have that administration taken care of, you can book that first meeting. Now, when that first meeting is done, I have never had to refund a client because we have done such a great job of this. But you have 3 options. You can continue going, and then we'll just invoice you for the rest. You can get your money back, or if you want, we've got a list of 3 charities that we support, and we're happy to make a donation to them in your name. But what I think you should do is pay the money, book the meeting, and then get the option that's best for you. But if they don't put money down, typically they won't show up the way you want them to.
Yes, I agree with that. Or they're like, okay, I got what I needed, I'm moving. You know what I mean? Like,
you'll attract the wrong clients. It's like adverse selection, right? You don't want that, right?
No, that's
so.
I like that. I'm getting some
I've done this before.
I can tell.
You remember you weren't supposed to say how good you are. Kristina, look at how good we are. Look how good we are. Is it not evident? Okay, so then the denominator, we have one more variable, and that is the effort and sacrifice that they need to put in. So if you're saying, hey, you'll get it right away, but you have to climb 10 flights of stairs, you have to send me all of this information, you have to get all of your department leads together, and all of that just sounds like stuff in the way of what I want.
Yep.
So you need to remove all of that. And you want to psychologically address that right when you're selling. You want to say, hey, look, no long meetings. We don't need to meet everyone. We don't need some long onboarding. Book the session with me. Pay the money, book the session with me. After that, take all of your options because we're going to get you the result no matter what, but we don't want any time delay. We don't want any administrative drag. We want no friction between where you are and where you want to go. Now you're starting to learn how to sell at a high level because you want them to feel foolish saying no. They'd be like, why would I say no to this? It's, so.
Yeah.
So that's now we finished the second part now. So how do you feel about that? So we have give them what they want, make it guaranteed, make it feel instant, and no effort or sacrifice to get what they want.
I like this one. What I like though is that because usually people talk about this in one big lump, like in the number, in like the answer. And when you can break it down to two variables in the numerator and two variables in the denominator, you can it's the whole adage of when you can name it, you can tame it. Like when we can name it, we can do something about it. Absolutely. I can identify it and I can create an action and I can execute now and
we can measure it too, right? Yes. We can measure it. So we can start off with 100% money guarantee. We can start off with that. Hey, if you won't, you get all of your money back. There's very few guarantees that are that strong. But as you start to realize, 95% of clients are never even mentioning that. Then you can maybe change the guarantee. Well, we'll work with you until you get the outcome. If you don't get the outcome right away, we'll work with you until you get it. We won't give up. Even if it takes another week or two, we're not going to charge you. That's a guarantee as well. But you can start measuring these things and you can say, hey, how strong is my guarantee? Then you squeeze all the water out. Anything that isn't in those variables, you don't talk about them because it's not part of a perfect product equation. So why would you? So so that's the second part.
All right. What's the third one? Let's get
you got to leave them wanting more. You sure we shouldn't end it here? No, I was kidding.
Oh, we could. Okay. We could.
Yeah. So the third one is in your actual messaging. So in the messaging, the adage I would say is, can you help them understand exactly the value that you are giving them within 90 seconds? Within 90 seconds, are they saying, oh my goodness, this person knows me better than I know myself? And then in the next 30 seconds, so you have 90 seconds to get to the point where they're like, were you reading my thoughts? That's exactly what I want. I've been starving for that. Then you have 30 seconds to say where they want to go better than they can say it and position your solutions as the bridge to get there. So this is all about speed. And we've got some tools that I'll go over, but for the equation, we are looking at how quickly do leads know that we provide exactly what they want with the product equation, that speed and that lack of friction, and we have the right person. If you can do that, then you're going to be a very successful business person. But there's some tools we use to do that as well. That we can kind of get into as well. So how do you make people know right away that you're the right solution for them, right? Okay. Yes. So for this, for this, we're going to go back to the Greeks. Okay. So the Greeks, back in the day, they used to have people that were like loudmouths and they were called the town crier. And there wasn't a lot of literacy. So they'd go into the square and they'd be like, hear ye, by decree of the queen. And that's how people got their information. But then when they started creating amphitheaters acoustically, now maybe 5,000, 10,000 people could hear what one person was saying. And when you're talking to a small group of people, it's pretty easy to be persuasive because you can just look them in the eye. If you're talking to 5,000 people, then you better have structure for what you're going to say. And so these are the Greek modes of persuasion. You've heard them before, but let's quickly just differentiate between persuasion and manipulation. Like persuasion is, I know exactly where you want to go. I know you can get there. Let me show you how. And manipulation is, I have somewhere that I want you to go. Let me get you to go where I want you to go. So we're persuading. Okay, so the Greek modes of persuasion is ethos, pathos, logos, and kairos. And you've heard all these words before. But when you use persuasion for ethos, you're talking about the spirit of something, its characters, its qualification. When you talk about pathos, you're using emotion, whether it's humor or sadness or desperation or fear. Then when you have logos, you're using facts and figures, you're using logic. And then kairos is using urgency. And so you're using the urgency of the moment. And so if we come up with a quick example for this, let's say I'm selling a book to the parents of young children and they're toddlers and I'm doing a speech and they're there in front of me and I want them to buy this book. So for the ethos part, I could say for the past 20 years, I've served as the head of pediatric surgery at Johns Hopkins University Hospital.
Mm-hmm.
Now, is that a pretty strong qualifications and all of that? For
Yeah.
international people, Johns Hopkins is one of the most wonderful teaching hospitals in the world.
Mm-hmm.
So if I was the head of pediatric surgery, I must know something about child health,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So that's a good beginning.
Yep.
Now I can add some pathos. Do you remember what pathos was? Okay. Pathos is the emotion, right?
Okay.
So I can be persuasive by adding emotion. So for the past 20, I'm adding pathos. For the past 20 years, I've served as the head of pediatric surgery at Johns Hopkins University. Nothing gives me more joy than when I can hand a previously sick infant back to her loving caregivers, say, shower her with love. She's going to be fine.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So do you see how now I'm getting more persuasive because I have the qualifications.
Mm-hmm.
I've tugged on your heartstrings. We're on the same page.
Yep.
You're getting closer to buying my book, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So this example, I like it because I could tour. I'm the surgeon, okay, in this example.
Yes. Yes.
I could tour for years and years just telling stories as the former head of pediatric surgery.
Mm-hmm.
But when we add logos, just a drop, because we're not logical creatures. We just need logic to justify why we're doing what we feel. I'll say that again. Understanding does not make people buy. Emotion makes people buy.
Yes.
You need just enough understanding that they don't feel like a sucker. You have to let their emotions do the work for them.
Mm-hmm.
And then the logic has to be, I'd be stupid not to do this.
Mm-hmm.
So what I like to say is just add a drop of it. So I'm going to do that in this speech. Just add a little drop. So I'll say for the past 20 years, I've served as the head of pediatric surgery at Johns Hopkins Hospital, and nothing makes me feel more joy than when I can hand a previously sick infant back to her loving caregivers and say she'll be all right. But according to research coming out of University of Michigan, up to 90% of the things that we do to prevent sudden infant death syndrome actually leads to it. A follow-up study out of East Michigan University says that those 90% of things fall into 4 categories. Do you see how I'm getting closer to selling this book? Because you're now thinking, what am I doing emotionally? He knows what he's talking about. New research.
Yeah.
Starting to make sense?
It is because like you said, we buy an emotion. And this is whether you're selling a product or selling your ideas as a leader. People will buy into what you're selling because of emotion.
Yes.
But a lot of people, especially your business owners and your, logic people, want to also say, I can justify this heartstring pull that I want to do with this data.
Yeah, and you're so right, because the way I like to look at it is the data, and stick with me here because I'm about to go a couple layers deeper here. The data is what makes them feel like they are a proper business person.
Yes.
Right? So it's not as if the data convinces them. It does not. It makes them feel like they are saying yes to the right thing. So what you have to do is use the data in a pathos way. And so you use the data by saying, hey, companies that don't do this suffer from 50% reduction in new client growth. This comes out of the Small Business Association. I go right back to ethos, back to qualification. You got to layer this stuff like lasagna, right? And so even when use all logos, use all logic, but back up logic with what happens if you don't do this, because then they'll feel, okay, I can say yes to this because they have numbers, but it's their emotion about the numbers that matters, not the numbers themselves. Numbers don't do anything. Not to selling.
Yeah.
It just makes you feel. Okay, remember, people act when they feel. They don't act when they understand. Okay, so the fourth thing is Kairos. So when I think of Kairos, I think of George Bush Jr. right after 9/11, and he was wearing the Air Force jacket. He had his sleeves rolled up, like he looked like he was about to fly the plane himself.
Yes.
Kairos is when you use the urgency of the moment. So perhaps a less political way of saying that would be the last day that you played soccer as a senior at high school. Your coach went out there and she said, "Hey, ladies, this might be the last time that you ever lace them up. But what you do on that field tonight can never be taken away from you. And when life hits you," we've all seen the movie, right?
Yes, totally.
That movie's Remember the Titans for me. You can choose yours after. But the point that I'm saying is you can use the urgency of the moment to sell what you're selling. So I can add to my speech at the end of it, hey, I have been a pediatric surgeon. I love saving kids. I've got this amazing data, and I'm going to go through one of them with you that you can stop doing right now, but the rest of them are in my book. And I want to make sure that you leave here getting all of them.
Yes.
How many books am I going to sell to that audience?
I think good amount.
A lot.
Yeah.
A lot.
Yeah.
Because I know how to use urgency. So if you do those 4 things, then you go back to, okay, where do they want to go? Where are they? How are we the bridge? Using those 4. If you can do that in 2 minutes, then, and you have the right product and you pick the right marketplace, then we just turn up the volume. We just turn up the reps. And yeah, you watch your
Yeah.
top line grow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So very cool. This was fun and very
Yeah.
enlightening for me.
You're like, I am going to go solve SIDS for parents of, I'm like, no, you're supposed to apply it to your business, not the. Yes.
No, this is amazing. And so when you work with clients, like what does that look like? Like
Yeah.
is it a year long? How does that
Oh,
work?
it's a great question.
Yeah.
It's a great question. And we use exactly what we talked about. So what we've realized is it's hard to get someone to say yes to a year or 6 months, but it's
Mhm.
pretty easy to get them to say yes to 30 days. So we have something called the 30-day clarity sprint. And our promise is at the end of those days, at the end of that time, you'll have at least 2 to 5% ROI. And what we are aiming to do in that period of time is diagnose the quick wins that we can get for your business and implement them right away.
Mm.
So our sales pitch is while other consultants are busy onboarding and getting information and learning the lay of the land, we are already implementing the solutions for you to get the ROI right away.
Mhm.
And so I mentioned early this week, I almost said last week, but it was this week that we posted a testimonial from one of our clients in Dallas who went through the clarity sprint. And the quotes that we posted was one major deal closed immediately. Now his solution is a 5-figure solution. So if we look at our clarity sprint, which is $5,000, we charge $5,000 for our sprint.
Mhm.
And so he said that he has already closed one deal. He has several deals that were dormant that are now active. And he already is experiencing 2 to 5 times ROI from our clarity sprint.
Wow.
That's a super strong testimonial.
Absolutely.
Why,
Yeah.
oh, why, Kristina, would I talk about myself if I have a client saying that this is what I experienced?
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
That's a much stronger. And that
Oh, yeah.
client actually invited me to Miami to present his solution to a bunch of family offices from the UAE. So it was, I didn't end up going because of other engagements, other prior commitments.
Mhm.
But just to show you how much he trusted us, he called me on the phone, like no one calls anymore. And
I
he
know,
said,
right?
AMG, I want you to represent the business to these investors. And it was a great compliment.
That's awesome. Huge. All right. So this was so valuable. I know the clients are going to find that, or the listeners today are going to find this
Listeners,
so
yep,
valuable.
yep.
What is new and exciting in your world coming up?
Yes. So I appreciate you asking. It's such a generous question. And it kind of talks more about the way that you are as a leader than I am. But we were always stacking skills. So it's super important in business that you have value to offer. That's the most
Mhm.
important thing.
Mhm.
Once you have value to offer, can you sell? And I like to call that the final 3 feet. Like when you're in front of a client, can you close a deal?
Mhm.
Right? And
Mhm.
that's a very important skill. But now we've moved on to marketing. We're kind of seeing the writing on the wall and we're like, look, we basically sell intelligence, we sell outcomes, we get you there quicker. But with AI and with the changing landscape, we see that as not being as valuable, the information side of it, as
Mhm.
the outcome side of it is. So we started to productize our offerings with the goal of being able to have a solution that all of those things that we just talked about, the equation, you can just dump all your stuff onto our platform and it will be able to not just tell you exactly who to aim your product at, but how to tweak your product, what the messaging should be. And our goal is to be able to link that back to profitability. So in real time, you can see if I make this tweak, this is what I expect to happen in the business. And you can imagine how valuable that would be to be
Mhm.
able to have one of our agents join your sales calls.
Yeah.
And our agent, we actually have a name for him. His name is Clement. We've already started building him. And so Clement would join your sales calls. And then after that, he would start to listen to what your leads are looking for. He would start to break down their language so we have a better way of communicating it. Then he
Mhm.
would give you new language to use, new decks, new product features. And then we would measure best based on your finances and your sales, how well that's working. So we would be able to in real time improve your business. So right now we're training Clement on all of our clients and we're training on all the things we know how to do. But that's something that we're working on. I'm giving myself a year to perfect it. But you can imagine how valuable it would be to be able to pay
Huge.
a license to that and to know that you've got the best of
Huge.
the best.
Yeah,
Yeah, we're
like
working on that.
I love that. Like I remember back when I was a plant manager, it was like you just got to know
Mm,
what levers to turn. I'm like, yeah,
yeah.
okay,
Absolutely. It's so easy to say, right? So easy to say.
exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that is awesome. I love that idea. So very
Hmm.
exciting.
Yes.
Yeah. And if people wanted to get in touch with you, what would be the best way to do that?
Yeah, no, definitely get in touch with us. So my name's Alexander Michael Gittens. So if the philosophy side of our conversation is something you're interested in, I have a lot of thought leadership right by searching my name. You can find me anywhere. But our company's called Rupert Rodney, just like it sounds. And you can find us on LinkedIn, or you can just Google it. We've got a lot of wonderful content out there. But what I would say is when we moved from, because I was able to do quite a lot of wonderful thought leadership. I did a TED Talk. I'm a community partner with 3 of the universities here in Toronto. So I had a chance to really talk about, why are we in business? What impact are we trying to create? What values do we have? How do we get rich but still live a life of meaning, purpose, and impact? So I have a 1-hour video essay called Higher Profit. And it's like being in a beautiful lecture. It's 1 hour long. It's set to music. And it really talks about this profit and purpose, income, and impact phenomena. So if you start on YouTube and you search for Rupert Rodney Higher Profit, then you can kind of see what we believe. But if you want to be a client right away, you say, AMG, I don't have time for that. I got to fix my business now. I would say first talk to Kristina, because there's a lot of overlap in what we do. And so she may be a better help for you. But if you're determined to be a client of ours, yeah, just find Rupert Rodney, find me on LinkedIn, and we'll book a chat and go from there.
Well, thank you so much. And I really appreciate everything you shared with us today. And I know the listeners are going to get so much value from it. So thank you for coming on today.
Kristina, thank you for having me. You're such a wonderful host. And this is a continuation of the great conversation we had a couple of weeks ago. So it's been brilliant.
It has been wonderful. Thank you so much. And if you enjoyed today's episode, please like it, share it with a friend, leave a comment on the YouTube, and leave a review. And we will see you on the next episode of the Business Building Blocks podcast.
Thanks for tuning in to the Business Building Blocks podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss what's next. If you found value in our conversation, please leave a quick review, like, or share. It helps us reach more amazing listeners like you. For more resources and insights, visit KristinaSchmitt.ca, where you can find tools and support to empower your leadership journey. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you in the next episode.